sense of hope and this sense of the lack of defeat. That it was overwhelming in a good way.
It's all a collective thing. We're all fighting for the same things. Because if we don't fight for workers' rights, then they're going to get trampled on too.
May Day demonstrations across the West Coast today, with thousands taking to the streets to fight for workers' rights. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. This was a global day of action to celebrate the labor movement. Among those taking part, workers, faith leaders, and immigrant advocates. There were large demonstrations all across the West, including in Seattle, Phoenix, San Francisco, and Portland. Those taking part are calling for better pay and working conditions. And in many cases, protesters today voiced opposition to the policies of the Trump administration. In Arizona, thousands filled the streets of downtown Phoenix today, chanting and holding signs as they called for change. Demonstrators here marched from the state capitol over to the federal courthouse. May Day is typically known as International Workers' Day, where workers and activists rally for stronger protections, higher wages, and greater equality. This year's focus, anger over the actions of the Trump administration, including its immigration crackdown, the sweeping cuts to the federal workforce, and the escalating trade war.
I want a future of social justice, of inclusion. I want a sustainable future. I want a safe, peaceful, comfortable planet for them to grow up in, and I want them to be able to feel safe out in the world and have jobs and have families or not have families and be able to get health care and not worry about hate crimes and worry about destruction of the environment. And I want to leave them a future that is worth having.
Protesters say they hope the marches today send a strong message to the White House. The president has not publicly commented on today's May Day demonstrations. It was a similar scene in Oregon on the campus of Portland State University today. Students were joined by community members and activists. And as Fox 12's Carly Olson reports tonight, demonstrators say they are standing up not only for workers' rights, but to protect freedoms they believe are in jeopardy.
Echoed on the signs and in the chants. The driving force behind a nationwide movement.
We get together on one day to make our voice heard because it is important that this administration and the people see that we're fed up with this, that we're not going to stand for it, and that it has to change.
Darren Hertzberg and Angela Foster joined with the 50501 movement. That's short for 50 protests, 50 states, one movement, to help organize the event, in hopes of getting the message across without any complications.
So we are a peaceful movement. That means no violence against any people and no violence against any property.
So I want to make sure that we're able to give everybody that wants to have a voice in the community.
The people united will never be divided.
It doesn't feel like an option for me to not show up in this moment.
Mother-daughter duo Cynthia and Joanne, both nurses, showed up to represent their field.
As an 85-year-old retired nurse, I support workers. In my day, we didn't have the unions that we have now.
But also those they've never met, whose rights they believe are under threat.
Given what's happening with immigration and with the trashing of due process, the trampling of human rights, legal rights, workers' rights, the list is too many.
Through the chants and the cheers, organizers hope the main takeaway is the power of community.
I will be out here trying to build a better world, trying to uplift people who have no voice.
So I want those people to understand that they are not alone, that we are in this together, and as a community, we can support each other, we can change things for the better.
Other protests took place in the evening at Pioneer Courthouse Square and also at Sewell Crest Park in southeast Portland, and the group plans to host more similar protests in the future. Reporting at PSU, Carly Olson, Fox 12 Oregon.
And there was also a May Day rally and march in our nation's capital today. Workers, faith leaders, and immigrant advocates gathered in downtown Washington, D.C. this afternoon for that rally. The message here was one struggle, one fight, all workers unite. And for more on the May Day demonstrations, you can head to our website. That is westcoastwrap.com. Tonight, several Democratic senators from here in the West are calling out the Trump administration's tariffs, saying the president's trade policy is, quote, sabotaging the U.S. economy. Last night, the Senate narrowly defeated a bill that would have rescinded the president's emergency declaration allowing him to raise tariffs, including the 145% levies on Chinese goods. New numbers show a dramatic slowdown in container shipments coming from China here to the U.S. Washington Senator Patty Murray said the trade war is likely to crush the economy.
Fewer ships from across the Pacific means less cargo at our ports. Less cargo at our ports means less goods for our truckers to transport. And that ultimately means bare shelves for our retailers and the American consumer.
Senator Murray said businesses in Washington state are already laying off workers. Senator Alex Padilla from California said that state businesses there are hurting as well.
So it is everything from food to electronics to cars and clothing, different percentages for different products, but it's there.
Senator Padilla noted that California is home to two of the largest and busiest ports in the country, with Los Angeles and Long Beach receiving 40% of our country's imports. The administration's tariffs on imports are hitting the flower industry especially hard. One florist in Idaho says she has already felt the impact of these tariffs, especially when buying from wholesalers. Esther Garner says she's paying 5 to 10% more for some flower orders, and the price increases are creating a lot of uncertainty as she heads into the busy season with Mother's Day, graduation, and a lot of weddings.
So I would now be placing my order for next season, and especially with wedding season coming up, but I don't know how I should do that. I don't know how to move forward. I don't know what I should order, how much I should order, or what I should account for.
Many florists get their flowers imported from South America. Garner, like other florists here in the U.S., says she is now looking to try to buy more locally grown flowers. An investigation is underway tonight after a teenager from Bellevue, Washington, was found unconscious near a dorm on the UC Santa Barbara campus, and ultimately she died from her injuries several days later. 18-year-old Liz Hamel was found unresponsive on Valentine's Day, and now months later, her father has flown to California searching for answers from police.
I shouldn't be standing here. I should be at home grieving my daughter. Entrusting into institutions that are responsible for this investigation. But the academic quarter is coming to an end. Students are graduating or leaving campus. People's memories fade.
Hamel, along with an attorney and an investigator, showed an image of a young man who was with Liz on the night of her death. Police are continuing to investigate, but yesterday's news conference with the father made it clear that the Bellevue teenager's family and law enforcement are split on how this investigation is unfolding. In Southern California, Los Angeles police are searching tonight for the suspect behind a random killing that has shaken many neighbors. On Saturday, officers responded to a welfare check at a home in Van Nuys. When they arrived here, officers found a man who was dead inside his apartment. Police say the suspect unlawfully entered that apartment and there was some sort of a physical altercation, which police believe likely resulted in the victim's death. Investigators do not believe the killing was the result of a robbery or burglary, and obviously they're searching for the suspect you see here in these images. They say the victim and the suspect had no known connection. Tonight, authorities are investigating a deadly plane crash that happened earlier today in Northern California. This happened in Grass Valley in Nevada County. Police say the pilot of that plane was killed. He's been identified as Robert Lund from Newcastle. He was in his 60s and a licensed pilot with decades of experience. Investigators with the NTSB and the FAA are now going through the wreckage. The pilot did call for a mayday, reporting engine trouble.
We full-heartedly believe that Mr. Lund, having experienced some sort of emergency in his aircraft, did every courageous action that he could to avoid populated areas and roadways, and ultimately perished during the incident.
It remains unclear what caused the engine failure on that plane, but the investigation does continue. Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, a game among high school students goes wrong after one of them brings what looked like a gun into a hospital. Also, a close call with a coyote. One man recounts the moment he says he and his dog were charged at by that animal.
And in weather, here's our live camera looking out toward the Golden Gate Bridge, the San Francisco Bay Area. The fog is back in this picture right now. We'll update the West Coast Wrap forecast coming up after the break.
A popular game among high school seniors led to the arrest of a student in Utah. Witnesses told police they saw two young men walk inside a hospital in Salt Lake City in one of the suburbs on Wednesday afternoon. One of them appeared to be holding a gun, but the two ran off. The whole situation led to police creating a perimeter around that hospital. But when they caught up with one of those young men, 18-year-old Miles White admitted that he was playing the Assassination game with one of his friends. He said the gun involved was just a Nerf gun. Police say playing these types of games in public can have serious consequences.
These types of situations can turn dangerous quickly because of the way that other people view them or perceive them. And I think it's really important for, kids who may be playing this senior game or whatever it is that they're playing, just how dangerous it can be for them and for other people.
Police say their investigation is ongoing. After the young man was arrested, he was later released on his own recognizance in order to appear in court at a later date. Cleaning up streets and working to change lives. Los Angeles County's largest homeless RV encampment is finally being cleared out. Fox 11's Haley Winslow has more tonight on the major cleanup effort and the push to help get people back on track.
Sounds of crunching, breaking glass, and heavy machinery ring out on Redondo Beach Boulevard in Gardena as trucks tow away run-down RVs and the county cleans up what's left behind. The cleanup is being done in conjunction with the Pathway Home program.
It's an amazing feeling. It's very rare that we get to see an immediate impact on people's lives, but it takes a lot of coordination, a lot of work.
Since August, LA County officials say the operation has cleared 44 encampments in LA County, removed nearly 800 RVs, and moved 1,300 people into interim housing.
Services in a very unique style. Everything is brought all at once. The housing resources are guaranteed. We've done outreach and we know every single person in the encampment.
LA County Sheriff's Lieutenant George Suarez has been on the front lines of homeless outreach here for years.
It is clearly a humanitarian crisis. We're seeing the positive momentum. We're seeing the true work now happening.
A key to its success, leveraging outreach service volunteers who the homeless trust, like community advocate Dave Matthews and Rigo Alejo, who turned his life around after nearly a decade living here in an RV.
I am an example to all these people around that I used to hang out with. And if I could do it, and I think anybody could do it.
Other success stories include Erin Echevarria, who with a little guidance got herself through rehab, a job, and an apartment. And 65-year-old David Peters, who just exchanged his RV for housing after someone ran over his dog here. Cleaning up the whole county is a slow process, but Pathway Home has sure made a dent, and it's already come full circle.
They listen, and they even actually has asked me if they could help out and clean up.
The RVs will be recycled, and as the cleanup continues, they'll be doing regular maintenance patrols and putting in camera systems to make sure that these RVs don't just turn up somewhere else. But finally, after a couple of years, some good progress. Reporting in Gardena, I'm Haley Winslow, Fox 11 News.
As temperatures start to tick up across Arizona today, Maricopa County health leaders launched the 2025 Heat Relief Network. This initiative is aimed at preventing heat-related illnesses and deaths. The community-wide effort brings together various agencies to offer free cooling centers and other resources during the hot summer months. Part of today's launch includes an interactive map showing more than 200 locations for cooling centers, hydration stations, and donation sites. That launch comes after the Phoenix area experienced record-setting heat last year. There were 113 consecutive days of temperatures at or above 100 degrees between May 27th and September 16th. That period also included 14 excessive heat warnings and 14 record-high daily temperatures. Also, Maricopa County reported 602 heat-related deaths in 2024. That number was down from the record 634 deaths in 2023. That actually marked the first year-over-year decrease in heat deaths since 2014. All right, with that, let's give you a live look here at downtown Phoenix. A beautiful shot as the sun begins to set, but already temperatures have been steadily warming up this week. Let's get more on the forecast and what we can expect here in Arizona and across the West. And to do that, we bring in KTVU's chief meteorologist, Mark Tamayo. Mark?
Hi there, Alex. Yeah, thankfully no extreme heat in the forecast for Phoenix over the next few days. Still some 90s, though, as you can see showing up in the forecast timeline in Phoenix throughout the day tomorrow. Peaking in the lower 90s for your Friday afternoon. So not up above 100 degrees just yet, at least for this week. Showing you the satellite where you can see a little system out here in the Pacific. Now this will eventually cool off parts of the West Coast as we do move into the weekend. Right now, the radar imagery is still pretty active out toward portions of Colorado, out toward the Denver area. Still tracking some scattered showers to that portion of the West Coast. And as you can pick out, even in Southern California, we have some activity just to the north of Los Angeles. So there is the chance they could pick up a shower or a thunderstorm in the short-term forecast. And then as you can see for the San Francisco Bay Area, the radar is fairly quiet with some lightning strikes detected along the central coast of California. And up in the Pacific Northwest, and not much to show you now, but they're into the weekend, there's a possibility of some showers, at least for Seattle, as we do head into Saturday. Current numbers right now, it's 82 degrees in Las Vegas, Reno 72, Portland, that's a warm 80 degrees. And this was the scene in Seattle today. Beautiful day, temperatures on the warm side, 76 degrees, a nice warm afternoon up in the Pacific Northwest. In San Francisco, you can see out in the distance some fog, keeping the temperatures on the cool side in San Francisco only in the upper 50s, and in Phoenix today in the 90s. And once again, we showed you back up into the lower 90s for tomorrow afternoon. So here's the setup. We're going to thicken up the cloud cover up in Seattle for tomorrow. More sunshine in the Denver area. It's cool out toward the San Francisco Bay Area, especially for San Francisco. And then it's a warm forecast, as we showed you, for Phoenix and Los Angeles. Some patchy fog in the morning with clearing skies into the afternoon hours. So here's how it's shaping up for your Friday. As you can see, some clouds approaching increasing up in the Pacific Northwest for tomorrow. And then lots of low clouds and fog for the California coastline. We'll keep an eye on the chance of some showers moving into the northern portions of Arizona. And then this is your Saturday forecast. Maybe some rain and some snow showers out toward the Sierra Nevada as that system kind of comes on board. So here is the forecast over the next 3 days. Seattle, partly to mostly sunny skies. More clouds and the chance of some scattered showers for the Saturday forecast. That is up in the Seattle area. Temperatures in the 60s for the San Francisco Bay Area. Los Angeles, those readings in the lower 70s for tomorrow. Upper 60s by Saturday. Looks like a nice weather stretch out toward Denver with those readings back up into the 60s and the 70s. So parts of the West Coast, Alex, will be cooling off over the next few days.
Yeah, sounds like it. All right, Mark, thank you. Now we turn to a close call for a man who was walking his dog in western Washington. He says a coyote charged at him along a hiking trail. Tonight, Fox 13's Lauren Donovan has more from the man about this unnerving encounter.
For me, it was just a display of like, okay, you need to leave.
Jerome Thibault recalls the walk in the Edmonds woods just days ago when this big old coyote came out of the brush, making its presence known to both Jerome and his dog Simba.
And then it charged real quick. It stopped about where the camera is right now, probably about 10 feet. So it was definitely a fake charge.
Barking and even howling.
So the trail goes like this.
Retracing his steps, Jerome tells me he left unharmed.
I'm a big guy, so I was never scared that they were going to be attacking me or jumping on me. But when you have a coyote that's stalking you, you're uncomfortable.
Jerome says he grabbed a stick, and that seemed to deter the predator a bit. But for 15 long minutes, walking away, peering over his shoulder, he'd see it, inching closer and closer.
Then we started to go up the canyon, which is very steep. And then I turned around, and he was still there, climbing with us. And we climbed that hill very fast. I gotta tell you, we were very motivated to climb the hill.
Jerome will tell you the animal caught him off guard, but by no means does he want any harm to come to it.
Well, it's just like you're in a nightclub and you misbehave, you always cut it off the nightclub. And very polite coyote.
After sharing his experience on Facebook, he and others have come to the conclusion that
it was a female. She was most likely had a den nearby, because we were slightly off trail with Simba, you know, she probably panicked. And then she said, okay, those guys need to get out of there.
He has also observed new behavior from coyotes living nearby him, as have others in our region, reporting more unusual and aggressive behavior to humans in places like West Seattle and Bellevue.
We've noticed this winter a lot more activity from the coyotes.
What used to be the occasional sighting at dusk has become all more frequent in these neighborhoods.
A lot more closer to the homes. My only message is don't feed the animals. And most importantly, don't feed the coyotes because it's like bears, when they get used to human food, they will come back.
Reporting in Edmonds, Lauren Donovan, Fox 13 News.
Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, after years of legal battles surrounding a deadly on-set shooting, the movie Rust, starring Alec Baldwin, is finally set to hit theaters, but only for a limited time. Also coming up tonight, Phoenix police utilizing artificial intelligence for its emergency call center, how the department says this will make a difference. Alec Baldwin's Western film Rust is being released tomorrow, 3 years after the on-set tragedy in New Mexico that killed cinematographer Halyna Hutchins. Starting tomorrow, Rust will begin a limited theatrical release and will be available to stream on Apple TV, Prime Video, and other platforms. Baldwin was rehearsing when a gun he was holding for the movie fired, killing Hutchins. In July, a judge dismissed involuntary manslaughter charges against Baldwin, saying police and prosecutors withheld evidence from defense attorneys. Police in Phoenix are turning to artificial intelligence to handle some calls for service. The system is known as Call Triage, and it will handle non-emergency calls. It should be up and running by the end of this year. The department says this will help call center workers handle the high number of emergency calls they receive, while also speeding up service for non-emergency callers. The artificial intelligence company World Network now has a storefront in San Francisco. The World Network was co-founded by OpenAI's Sam Altman. This real-world location allows users to verify their identity and their humanity. Organizers say those orbs they're using, they scan the eye of a user to confirm that they are in fact a person. The orbs then encrypt that data so it can be used like a virtual passport. The store has already launched overseas with an estimated 26 million users, with 12 million of them orb verified. Finally, tonight in Northern California, a four-legged intruder broke into a Lake Tahoe cafe and grabbed a little treat. The 4-year-old bear named Cinnamon, who's well known in that community, took off with 3 gallons of ice cream. Beth Moxley of Tahoe Time Ice Cream and Coffee Shop took this video of the break-in Sunday. Moxley says the bear came in through the back door, which had been propped open with a trash can. An empty tub of chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream was found not far away from that cafe. And that does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. Appreciate you watching. Have a great night.